And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I'm your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFL off-season supporter series. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer and closer to that beloved day when we get footy back. And this year, as I said, I've been looking for non-Aussies, international and American fans who love this lovely game that is footy. And joining me today from the lovely state of Tennessee, which I'm noticing that Tennessee and Kentucky have a lot of footy fans, which I think is magnificent. I have Matt. Matt, great to have you on the podcast, sir.
Great. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So let's jump right into it. Before we get into the footy, I like knowing just the littlest bit about the person that I'm chatting with on the podcast. So just the littlest bit about yourself outside of the game of football.
Okay. Well, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, which is in East Tennessee. Um, I grew up in a very sports-oriented family. My parents um, went to like pretty much every University of Tennessee home football game, home basketball game, home women's basketball game. So I grew up like that. My dad was a women's volleyball coach. So I've grown up around sports. I was a sports writer pretty much from the time I was 15 until for about 20 something years after that. So yeah, uh, live here in Knoxville. And aside from sports, I also am a part of the sort of the sword and sorcery community of people who read and write sword and sorcery. So I've got projects and irons in the fire in that regard as well. So
Fantastic, fantastic. Great to see that. And again, I have family in the western part of Tennessee, so I have an affinity for the Tennessee Volunteers myself. Pat Summitt was one of my idols growing up, so it is
yeah,
cool that you got to see her live. That is fantastic. Just a littlest bit about me there on that one. So let's jump
yeah,
right into it, sir. As an American, I love hearing this because everybody's is different, and I absolutely love it. What is your finding footy story?
it's a little bit same and a little bit weird. I remember as a child in the 80s, like other people have said, seeing clips of it on ESPN. Um, the only thing I remember about that is the umpires with the Panama hat and the
Mhm.
coat. That's the only thing I really remember. I thought that was cool. That's all I really remember. But I sort of came to it when I was a sports writer at a small town in Georgia in the late '90s. Everybody in our newsroom was a sports fan, but we all like different sports. So some people were way into college basketball, some in college football, some baseball, some pro basketball. So we couldn't we couldn't razz each other about our teams because we all like different sports.
Hmm.
So somebody said we need to pick a sport that we can all follow and get on the same page, and preferably something that nobody knows anything about, so there can be no bandwagon
Hmm.
jumping. So
Hmm.
somebody printed out a list of the logos, and we all had to pick a team so that we could follow and josh each other and razz each other about the results. And
Hmm.
so I looked at the list, and something about the Adelaide Crows logo, the color, the Crows was sort of an unusual mascot that I'd never seen before. So for some reason that appealed to me, and that's who I picked. And from there, at that time, I guess in the, like I say, late '90s, early 2000s, the Fox Sports Channel
Hmm.
would occasionally, I don't even know if it was regular, but they would occasionally show AFL games. And I remember watching a few of those on there and really just loving the sport. Um, I don't think they ever showed the Crows. They always showed the Victorian teams, but um, just watching it, vividly remember thinking, like, if we had this in the U.S., this would be my favorite sport.
Hmm.
This would be what I would follow. So yeah, that's how I got into uh, watching. I didn't really start paying really close attention until a couple of years ago. But I guess
Mhm.
we'll talk about that
Well,
later.
I'm looking forward to it because this episode's going to be just the tiniest bit different, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. For those that listen to the podcast, there's a little bit of a tip there in how I say that, but that's a fascinating story. You pick the AFL to find something to banter about.
Yeah,
That is absolutely incredible. So
and,
let's
and
jump.
the
Go
funny
ahead.
thing about it was I remember, um, like I say, it was the late '90s, so there was no YouTube, no Wikipedia, no
Hmm.
Google, so information was sort of hard to come by. But the one thing I remember was looking at the schedule. And again, I didn't know anything about these teams. And I just remember looking at the schedule, and somewhere on the schedule, it was like Adelaide versus Port Adelaide.
Hmm.
And I said, I don't know anything, but I know that those two teams hate each other. I know that's got to be bitter.
That is awesome. I love it. Absolutely love it. You tip the showdown animosity with
Yeah.
absolute grace.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Let's jump right into it. Now that you've seen the sport, now that you get to see it, it's a little bit easier to access it. What is your favorite part about the sport of football?
I love everything. It's high scoring. It's high scoring, but it's got the physicality of American football. Uh, it requires so many different skills. I remember the first time I watched it, it was just like, you actually have to dribble the ball, so it's sort of like basketball, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of jumping. It's just and a lot of strategy. So yeah, I think it's everything to me. It's the ultimate sport to me.
No, I'm not going to disagree. I know whenever I watch YouTube videos, that's one of the things they're all like, this has got this and this and this. Though
Yeah.
it was ratified before several of those sports were even invented, it is
Right. Yeah.
fascinating that it is an amalgamation of a lot of the stuff that we see all here before. So I'm going to ask this next question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I'm still going to ask it, and then I'm going to add a secondary question. Have you ever played this lovely sport that is footy? And if you haven't, if you could, would you?
I haven't, and I definitely would. Um, I've seen some of the videos about AFL nines,
Mhm.
and yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, yeah, I would love to play that.
Well, it is fantastic, and as a couple of my chats have come through, it's like it isn't just designated for a certain person. Like it isn't like the NBA. You almost got to be tall to play in the NBA.
Right. Right.
You've got to be fast to be a track athlete. So it is really cool that you can be any different body type and still be able to play this fantastic sport. So as you kind of said, my next couple of questions you've already kind of answered. So I'm going to kind of ad lib just the tiniest bit here. Is that
Okay.
you found the AFL, like I said, in the random 90s to go with that. But as you said, you kind of really have gone into the last couple of years. So what is it that kind of got you back into wanting to pay attention to, as we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, the AFLW, because Matt is a massive AFLW supporter. So we're going to kind of flip this episode a little bit. We're going to talk AFLW based with a few AFL questions a little bit later. So why is it a couple of years ago that you have went crow mad for in the AFLW?
Yeah, I was. It was 2022,
Hmm.
and it was September, and so I was scrolling social media, and somebody that I followed that was from Australia just happened to say it's grand final day and looking forward to watching the grand final, and it I sort of hit me. I said, well, I have not checked on the Adelaide Crows in a long time. I need to see, how they're doing. Did they go to finals this year? I need to check on them. So I just Googled Adelaide Crows 2022, and the first thing that popped up was Adelaide Crows women win grand final. And so it blew my mind that at that point I didn't know that there was a women's league. I was totally unaware. So I thought it was just super cool that there was a women's league and that the Crows had just, won the championship. And so I just thought that was neat. And then so, the more I Googled and investigated, I realized that there was an AFLW app and you could actually watch the games for free, with replays. So I started once I figured that out that you could watch the replays for free. The first game I watched was the first women's showdown, and yeah, after that I was hooked,
Hmm.
and so I started watching all the match replays from there, and uh, once I watched all the Crows games, and then I realized, well, I can watch the other teams, so I started watching all the other teams. So it just
Hmm.
kind of went from there.
Kind of starts to snowball after a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know the feeling absolutely. So as you said, we've established you're a huge Adelaide Crows supporter, and again, I absolutely the Crows have been one of those clubs that I know the Swans and the Crows have had a checkered past, especially in the men's program. But I know that I some of my really good friends are Crows supporters. So I asked this, I mean, you picked them randomly out of a hat. What nowadays has kept you with the Crows? Is it just because of the fact that you picked them, or is there something about the club that has really kind of made you stay on as a Crowy supporter?
Yeah, I think watching the AFLW team, I've really gotten to love the players, and uh, I love Ebony Marinoff and Hatchard, Caitlin Gould. So I've really gotten to I've really gotten attached to the players and keeping up with those players, and um, I don't know, based on sort of what I've read, Adelaide seems the way they follow sports seems to sort of match up with East Tennessee. So I think there's some overlap there. So yeah, I'm definitely all Crows.
There is nothing wrong with that. I absolutely love the passion. It is absolutely fantastic. So let's jump right into it, sir. First, I love finding this out because again, everybody's is different. First Crows item that you were ever given or bought.
Yeah, I'm wearing it. I got this for I became a member in 2023. So this was a part of my member pack.
Mhm.
And so yeah, this is so I don't have a ton of that. I just have the things that I've been given with my member pack the last few years. But yeah, this is pretty special.
That is fantastic. That's fantastic. Absolutely love it. So let's jump. I got to ask this. I know, again, the AFLW competition is not as long. It's only 10 seasons deep, but it has been great 10 seasons. So I'm going to ask you this, sir. I know this isn't easy, especially for somebody that has kids, because it's like asking who's your favorite child. Do you have a favorite player of the past that's donned the Crows tricolors and a favorite player currently on the Crows AFLW list?
Well, the funny thing is, like I said, I started watching in season 7, which was the fall. That was the
Hmm.
in 2022 was when they did two
Hmm.
AFLW seasons in the same calendar year, so they could move it to the spring in Australia. Um, so when I started watching was season 7, which was the first season that Aaron Phillips was not there. Um, so I can only imagine it would be like somebody falling in love with the New England Patriots the season after Tom Brady left.
Hmm.
And you're
Totally
you're
get it.
like, what? What? I'm watching the team, So with Tom Brady with the Buccaneers, so it was an odd feeling to start reading and researching, and everybody talking about Aaron Phillips, and when I was watching, she wasn't there anymore.
Hmm.
But certainly, what she did in the past, was incredible for the Crows. And now, um, I would have to say it's Nafi, um, and Hatchard and Caitlin Gould. Those are my three favorite. But it's hard to say that it's just
Hmm.
three.
Yep. It's really it is. You fall in love with them because they're such incredible people and incredibly talented young women and players. So I'm 100% with you. I mean, you could not cut. I don't know how you could because all three are
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Hatchie, Nuffy, and Caitlin are all absolutely magnificent players. So I 100% understand with you on that one. So I I want to go back just really quickly describe your fandom to me, because again, as most of us will know that will listen to the podcast that are Americans, it is not easy to watch games because sometimes the game times are very, very odd and very, very inconvenient for Americans. So I love finding this out because nobody fans exactly the same. Nobody fans like me. Nobody fans like the guy down the hall. So I got to ask this. Describe your fandom of the Crows for me.
Um, yeah, if there's, once in a while there will be a game that's on a Friday or a Saturday night, like at 9:30 Eastern time, that that I can watch. Um, now I've subscribed to the, Watch AFL, so
Mhm.
I can watch them live if opportunity arises. So if there's a game on a Friday or Saturday night that's like 9:30, the Crows I'll watch. Usually, um, first thing I do if there's a game, first thing I do when I wake up is check the score and see what happened, and then I'll watch the match replay. So
Mhm.
um, that's usually my pattern.
And every, like I said, everybody does it differently. I will, after the podcast, I will tell you the story of why I watch all the games live, like all this one's games live. I will tell you that story. I've told it on the podcast many, many times. So after this podcast, I will tell you the story of why I watch all the games live because it's a funny story. It's a funny
Okay.
story that I've told to a few. So let's jump right into it. Again, the Crowies have had a ton of success in the AFLW, but again, unfortunately, we'll move to this last season. Unfortunately, they fall a little bit short. Did not get to another premiership. Unfortunately, the Kangaroos were just a little bit too good this year. So, ask you your thoughts on the Crow season this last year in the AFLW.
Yeah. It was a good season. I don't think anybody was going to beat North Melbourne. They were just it was their year. They were awesome, and personally, I was glad to see them win. If the Crows couldn't win, then I was just as glad to see them win. Um, it was tough. Eloise Jones got
Hmm.
injured, and I think that took away a little bit of scoring punch, sort of down the stretch. Um, you know, uh, I don't know if that could have made a difference. If maybe it could have made one game difference, and we could have gotten to the grand final with her. Um, but at the same time, I just don't know if anybody was going to beat North Melbourne. So
Hmm.
it was a good season, but hopefully we can take those next couple of steps soon.
Well, I will definitely say this is as we go into this off season, I liked what the Crows did this off season. They bring in a couple of really, really solid draftees, including what I think is the best girl in all of South Australia, and Indy Rashid. If I'm the Crows, I'm absolutely grinning with happiness that you're the top SA
Yeah.
girl is going to be in the tricolors. That is absolutely magnificent. So your thoughts on this on the next upcoming season? I know unfortunately it is a little ways away since we have the AFL men's season before we get the women's. So on the women's season, your thoughts on this next year? Because honestly, they're starting to rebuild with some youth, which is good because unfortunately the club has seen some changes since their premiership, since their dominance with three premierships in the span of 5 years.
Yeah, I personally I don't know if there's any way the offseason could have gone any better. Frankly, we've gotten Hannah Ewings, who's come over uh, from the other people to come to the Crows. My understanding is she grew up a Crows fan, so she's and was in the Crows Academy. Uh, so I know when she did that, there was a lot of people on her Instagram that were like, welcome home.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to. I hope things go well for her, and that she's able to get back into form. I'm excited to see her. You mentioned it. I was shocked when I woke up when the draft happened, and I woke up to see what happened, and I saw that we had drafted India Rashid. I was shocked, thrilled um, that we got her. Um, that's amazing. And then the other thing was Georgia McKee
Mhm.
was who we drafted in the second round. That was who a lot of people thought we would draft in the first round. So to
Mhm.
get the player you thought you were going to get in the first round in the second round too, um, that was great. And then the other one that maybe a dark horse is Kaylee Cronin,
Mhm.
who was one of the top players in the Irish Gaelic League, has joined the Crows, and I think she was the best on ground in their championship,
All Island final. Yep.
RL in final. So to get a player like her is pretty cool too. So yeah, I'm excited to see what all of those new players can do.
Yeah, there's some teams that in North Melbourne picking up Elise Sheeran from the Richmond Tigers.
Yeah,
Hawthorn strengthened themselves. The Crows, I think I agree with you. I think many Crows fans should AFLW Crows fans should be pinching themselves because you get two of the best SA talent to come into the door. You bring in a top tier SA talent that just could not seem to find her way, and I know this year she sat out due to personal reasons. So, like I said, I agree with you. I hope Hannah finds her form because when she
yeah,
was on top form, she was an incredibly talented midfielder,
yeah,
both for North Adelaide in the Sandford W, but also for Port in her rookie year when she
yeah.
was with it. So I'm 100% with you. If I'm a Crows fan, I'm sitting here. You're itching for the season to start because you've
Oh
got a
yeah,
solid team. You bring in youth to help out with your list that is starting to put a little age into it, and you've seen some turnover from those teams that won premierships. So we'll jump to it. I'm gonna have a little fun with this one because I don't know how you can get much better off season, but I'm gonna have some fun. Is over here, we call it the general manager over here in the States, or the list manager over in Australia. So I'm gonna have a little bit of
yeah.
fun. I'm gonna install you as the list manager for the AFLW Crows, and you can pick one player to snatch from any of the other 17 clubs to join Adelaide to maybe get them over the hump and get them that fourth premiership. Who's that one you bring over to the Tricolors?
Ooh, I think, man, that's a tough question. Because immediately you want to say defense, but man, it would be hard for me to not have Ali Morfitt come over as a ruck and forward. Um, it would be hard for me not to say her,
Hmm.
which I know you know her well as a Swans fan.
Hmm.
But um, you tempted to say Jazzy Garner, but our midfield's pretty good. So yeah, I would probably either Ali Morfitt or Jazzy Garner. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, another one that might even fit your style would be Elise Sharon. I know she just went over to the
yeah,
North Melbourne, but she would
yeah,
she would fit your halfback line and be fantastic for you
yep.
there because imagine Elise Sharon's running ability with Neve Kelly and some of the Crows. Man, that would be scary if that
Or
actually.
Eileen Gilroy. Yeah, Eileen
Elaine
Gilroy.
Gilroy, yep, she's another one. She's been kind of Hawthorne's really moved her to the forward line. I'd love her on the wing just to be able to use her speed and pace and
Yeah,
ability, and plus her creativity with footy in hand
yeah.
sometimes is scary good. So yeah, there's a plethora of people. You've got the Allen sister, who I think is pretty darn good at the ruck. So I'm not sure if you really need
Yeah,
Allie, but I get it. If
yeah,
Allie is at her best,
yeah.
she
She's
is
just
incredible.
yeah,
He's incredible. So
yeah.
I'm 100% with you. So we've talked a lot of AFLW. So I'm going to go to the men's for just the tiny space. Do
Sure.
you keep track of the men's like you do the women's, or is it kind of you support the club, but the men is just not your scene, shall we say?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I do. I probably keep up with the women more,
Hmm.
but because I keep up with the whole AFLW more than I do the whole AFL. But
Hmm.
yeah, I certainly do watch the Crows men games, watch the match replays, and yeah, I definitely keep up with them. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So just real quickly, since you do keep track of the men's, unfortunately they fall short, don't make the finals this year. Your thoughts on this upcoming season that's getting ever closer? Can the Crows get into the finals and can they make a little bit of noise?
Uh, I hope so. I don't know if I'm super confident in that. I hope we can sort of rebound more to the 2023 form. Um, I'm excited to see Sid Draper,
Mhm.
see what he can bring. I wouldn't imagine he would come in right off the bat, but hopefully. And I know there's been a few injuries here and there. Then hopefully that can get cleared up and sort of see more of that 2023 form than what we had last year.
No, definitely for sure. For the things that I'm hearing, Sid Draper's looking really good at training. So who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe
yeah,
round one, we'll have to see. I'm fascinated again. The Crows are an enigma team. I think last year was their little hiccup year. I know most
yeah,
teams as they try to progress, they have a hiccup year. Collingwood had the hiccup year before they won the grand final, so you just never know. So
yeah. You never know. Yeah,
I'm the Crows have been progressing. I think last year was a hiccup year, a few injuries, a little bit of inconsistency. They lost a little bit what they had in 2023. I agree with you. So they're a team I'm keeping an eye on because they're a team that can be, if they stay, can keep most of their top tier guys healthy and you
yeah,
get some good performances from a Tex Walker that could be dangerous as all get out, especially at home in front of that rabid Adelaide Crows supporter base at
yeah.
the Adelaide Oval. So let's have some. Let's. I as we kind of wrap up this podcast, I like to talk about this because I've told many people it's on my bucket list. I want to go to Australia. So I ask, have you ever been to Australia to see a game? And if not, are you planning on it anytime soon?
Unfortunately, I have not, and I definitely am planning on it. Um, I've talked with my wife about, it's like, when would we go? Because it's I would want to see an AFLW game, but I would also, like to see a men's game too, so they don't really overlap very much. But now that there's a few more AFLW games and the season's going to start in earlier in August, might have a chance now to go and sort of that early August and uh, see a women's game and a men's game. So yeah, I would love to. I would definitely on my bucket list.
Definitely. I'm one of those. My biggest thing though is that I have so many places I have friends down there that it's like I joked with on one of my podcasts. I said, I swear I'm gonna have to do like a big giant U. I'm gonna have to start in Brisbane, go to Gold Coast, and then swoop all the way. And somehow I have to get to Perth because I've my with my waffle and waffle W connections. I want to get out to Perth. South Australia, I think I've got the most because I know I swear I've the Norwood Footy Club is wrapped me in their arms with so many people at the club that want me to come and see not only the ground but just to meet several of the people
Yeah,
that I know through there that I think if I ever get there I'd probably be couch surfing for about a month and a half in the country if I
yeah,
could. I've had a few people say that if you go down, I don't think you're going to have to pay for a single hotel room because you're going to have couches and people wanting to host you because
that's awesome.
so it'd be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's financially is the biggest thing is getting
Sure.
there. I know when I get there, I'm gonna have plenty of people to help out and be able to run into people, and I've got plenty of contacts. But it's just one of those. It's just getting the finances to go. But when I go, like I said, I'm gonna try to go at a time period where maybe I can hit a game in Brisbane, a game in Gold Coast, game in New South Wales, game in Victoria. Maybe see if I can get down to Geelong, just
Yeah,
just for fun. Get
yeah,
down
and
to
I
Geelong.
definitely want to see the G. Yeah,
Yep. Go to the MCG, get over to the Adelaide Oval, go see Norwood, and then hopefully maybe get out to Perth to see Optus Stadium and maybe a few of the wonderful grounds for the waffle that the
yeah,
waffle use
yeah,
up there. If
yeah,
I can, I would absolutely love it. I know it's a pie in the sky. It's not cheap, especially moving around at this present point, but I'm looking forward to it. So
yep.
when you go, um, is there something that you're looking forward to when it comes to food wise? Because again, over here at Americans, when we go to the sport, it's more entertainment than it is sport. Is there something that you would like to enjoy while you go to a game over in Australia?
It's funny. I don't know much about the game day food there. I love game day food though, so I would be absolutely thrilled to explore whatever is available. Um, I don't know if it's more American style hot dogs or if it's more British style pies. Um, but yeah, I would be thrilled to find out what they do have. Absolutely.
Mhm. Be fantastic. And then for every game day, you got to have the seat. You got to have the best place to watch the game. So you've seen the G, you've seen the Adelaide Oval. Is there a place that when you go, that you really want to sit to and experience the game of football?
And it's funny. I don't know that I've really thought about that. I would want to be. high enough to be able to like see the whole field. Definitely because I like seeing how things develop, and so yeah, I would want to be high enough to see everything develop and see how everything moves. So yeah, maybe a little bit higher up on one end or the other, so I can see how things develop. Yeah,
Awesome, awesome. Yep. The second tier, when I talk to a lot of Australians, that's what they say is some of the best seats, especially if you want to see everything, is that second tier, a little bit closer to the edge to where you can see the entire ground, and the movement of the
right.
players would be fantastic. So I always end my episode with this because again, we're footy fans. We watch footy games. So I gotta ask this. Favorite game of footy you have ever seen, live, on the telly, doesn't matter. Favorite game of football you have ever seen.
There's two that stand out. One would be I want to get the year right. I guess it was the 2023 home and away season, um, North Melbourne and Adelaide. Neve Kelly scored a goal, I think, with like about a minute left
Hmm.
to win that. That was just an incredible game of footy. And then the other one would be North Melbourne and Geelong AFLW last year. That ended as a draw. That was the only game that North Melbourne didn't win. I've actually sent the link of that match replay to a bunch of people saying, "Hey, look, if you want to watch, if you want to see how crazy and amazing footy can be, watch this game. You can watch this game for free." So I've actually sent that link out to several people. So yeah,
That was an incredible game. One that I really need to sit down and watch again because I thought it was fantastic. I know it ends in a draw, and some people are like it's like kissing your sister. It was an incredible game of football with a couple of very fantastic teams. That is a Geelong team. I will say this as an AFLW person. I feel so bad for them because if the fixture were a little more even, I think they make finals and I think
I
they
think
cause a lot of disaster. But because they had to play some of the cream of the crop last year,
yeah,
it got them when it came to the ladder, and that's why they didn't make finals, which is almost a travesty because that Cats team was better. All due respect to Richmond and Port Adelaide and some of the teams that got in, that Cats team's better. Like, I'll
yeah,
be honest. Again, this is no disrespect to Port Adelaide. I know it's an Adelaide podcast, so that's not why I'm saying that. I'm just saying that Cats team on paper and as I saw on with my own two eyes was a better team. Probably
yeah,
should have made finals, but that's the way the cookie crumbles
and
when you only play 11 games. So,
yeah, and next year Chloe Shear should be back, so
yeah.
um, should be a lot better next year.
Oh,
Yeah,
100% on that. So, Matt, that is it. That is all of my questions. As per usual, I absolutely adore talking with fellow footy fans. It is absolutely magnificent. It is a pleasure to meet another Tennessean and another person that enjoys this wonderful sport. Thank you so much for taking the time and hopping on the
absolutely. It's been
podcast
great.
today.
Love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, ladies and
Thanks for
gentlemen,
having me.
that is going to do it for the end of the podcast. Again, if you like what you are hearing when it comes to it, please like and subscribe again. More of these chats are coming up. I'm working on a few things before we get ready. And then again, footy is coming up. Sample W, Waffle W, and the AFL all get started very, very soon. I cannot wait. That'll end it for this episode of Donnie's Disposals. And we'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.